From Studio 3 at Buzz TV, it's The Horse's Mouth with Tom McManus.
All right, time once again for another edition of The Horse's Mouth here on Buzz TV at Tommy Max at my bar, brought to you by my friends at truckcrashlaw.com and also The Carpet Man. We're talking to some athletes, we're talking cannabis, automation, and we're talking women's sports with a legend. And I can't wait to get into this one. Let's welcome in the panel. Erez Borowsky's here from CannaMation. How are you, my friend?
Thank you. I'm good.
You're a former Minnesota Twin baseball player.
I did play some baseball.
Nice. What was your position? What'd you play?
I was a catcher.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Tools of ignorance.
Yeah. Could you get him out at first? Gotta be quick with that one, right?
I can get them out any base.
Any base? All right. Very good. How long did you play from and what years were you up there?
82 through 86.
Okay. Cool. You always played baseball growing up?
Played
Pretty
a lot
much.
of sports, but baseball
Baseball ended up being the one. Good
Yep.
for you, man. That's great. I'm sure you learned a lot from it. It was a lot of fun.
It was a great time.
Tell me about CannaMation, man. What are you guys doing?
So CannaMation, we automate facilities.
Okay.
We're making equipment to lighten the load for repetitive
Okay.
processes.
Okay.
And we're trying to bring the human resources into critical thinking as opposed to just repetitive processes.
Okay. How'd you get started now? Were you always, the background was in that, or not a cannabis necessarily, but what you're doing inside?
So I've always been in technology.
Okay.
And one thing led to another. I was with Sophia, the robot,
Okay.
with
Yep.
Hanson Robots, and then left there and worked for a company based in Las Vegas called Green Bros.
Okay.
And from Green Bros, I brought an Israeli company over, and we
Okay.
did some of this automation and decided I know enough now to start my own.
So automation, is that all in they got to be vertical, or I mean, it's more than just a dispensary. It's the farm. It's
mostly
everything.
the farms
Okay,
and
so
the
farm.
distribution centers.
Gotcha.
They need labor, and
Yep.
they're having trouble getting labor. So I have a lot of CEOs coming to me and saying, please bring some automation to the
Cool.
facility.
Great to have you on the show. Thanks
Thank
for
you
being
very
here.
much.
Nancy Hogshead is here. Hi, Nancy.
Hi,
Good to see
how
you
are you?
again.
Good to see you.
I haven't seen you in a while, but I'm so
Yeah.
excited to see you on the call sheet. My Olympic swimmer,
Yeah.
gold medalist.
You haven't changed a bit.
I love it. Neither of you. You look fantastic.
Tell me more.
You look back. We were just talking about your career. You look
Yeah.
back. I mean, do you ever? I'm sure it's such a cliche question. You ever
Yeah.
picture yourself? But I mean, you look back. You're like, man, the Olympics and winning gold and
Yeah,
how you
yeah.
did it. And
Right.
what an
right.
accomplishment.
No, I have actually on my phone, I've got a whole library of photos because people still, to this day, I just celebrated my 61st birthday.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and
You look awesome.
and I still, thank you,
Yeah.
but like I have all these, here you go. Like
Yeah.
here's what, yeah.
Right,
okay?
absolutely.
I loved it. Yeah.
That's great. And I'm sure those experiences carry with you every single day.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It is the reason why I went to law school
Yep.
and why I, eventually got into advocacy for girls and women in
Yeah.
sports.
And you're with Champion Women. That's your company, right?
Correct.
But back up just didn't you have a lot to do with Title IX? Wasn't
Oh,
that?
yeah.
That
Yeah.
was you, wasn't it? Or
Well, and
partial?
Champion Women has a lot to do
Okay,
with Title
Champion
IX,
Women
right?
does, okay,
So
okay.
the nonprofit, that's one of the things that
Okay.
we do is we make sure that we're not as successful as I want us to be, which is girls and women are right now being denied almost $1 billion in college scholarships that they have every legal right to, because schools aren't providing women athletes with enough opportunities,
Okay.
and then they don't give them the full scholarships, et cetera. So all they need is a lawyer who knows what they're doing.
Yep.
So it's our job to do what I would call get the party started, meaning like I've got to, convince them. It's hard to get somebody to sue their school,
Right.
but only they can make it better for not just themselves, but also future generations afterwards.
And we're talking like better facilities, better taken care of, flying, whatever the accommodations are, just more equal to what the basketball, men's, base, whatever, football.
right.
Is that what we're talking about?
Well, that is part of it. So women are missing about a third of the opportunities that they should have. So they need more softball teams or, whatever.
Yep.
And so need more teams. and then scholarships, and then they need to get treated the same way. Most athletes that I talk to fully understand that they are getting second-class treatment, but they think like, well, there must be a reason because it's been this way my entire career.
Yep.
And when you kind of walk through as to like, well, could it be a donor's money? Can that be the reason why you're not getting as much? The answer is no. A school can't hide behind what a donor's doing. Is it like money from sponsorships or money from ticket sales? And the answer is no. Schools are required to provide men and women with equal educational opportunities.
Okay.
And if sports, well, when you think about what sports did for the three of us in terms of like, you know, where people, particularly women who were in sports, they represent 96% of all C-suite women are athletes.
Okay.
And so, and like as you go down the totem pole, right, you get fewer and fewer athletes, but they do better in school, they're more likely to graduate, they're more likely to be in STEM careers, something like robotics, and they go into the workforce and they stay in the workforce. They're healthier, they have healthier children, et cetera, right? So what it means for somebody to have a sports experience, and when we deny women in college, it's women are being denied about 180,000. In high school, it's 1 million kids.
Wow.
1 million girls are.
The detractors would funding's got to be part of it. Like, where does the funding come from? Like, how do we fund all of it?
But every athletic department, they have a budget, and they have to allocate it equally between.
And it's there. It's there for the big schools anyway.
I mean, some of the biggest schools, we're just about to release a big project where we're releasing 50 schools that are not in compliance with the OCR. The Office for Civil Rights.
Sure.
And some of the biggest schools, the richest schools, are the most out of compliance. UNC Chapel Hill needs to add 360 women, $7.5 million every single year in college scholarship dollars.
Okay.
So, you know, like these particularly Power 5 schools, there's just no reason for them not to be treating women equally.
Well, and I know, like, look, I know a nephew of mine, Sam at Auburn, and when he first got there, it wasn't a full scholarship, it was a percentage, like, and that's, I guess, how they do it, right? Like, here's a certain number of scholarships, you spread it out however you want. I think maybe one kid on the entire team got a full ride. The rest was divvied up.
Yeah.
Between
baseball's
kind of the same way.
Yeah.
So more, right? More funding.
Well,
more,
track and field is the same
way. No, I mean
way.
for those sports, having more resources, more opportunities is what we're talking about, basically, right?
The schools are raising a lot of revenue in advertising and TV promotions.
Oh, TV.
Right?
Yeah, so they've got to have the money.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, some of these schools, Big Ten school, it doesn't matter how they do it, the record, they still get $20 million from the TV.
Right.
So the money's got to be, allocated around that.
So we were responsible for University of Iowa being sued, and as a result, they got women's wrestling. They're the first Power 5 school to get women's wrestling.
Okay, interesting.
And when the first time that the coach was introduced during a men's basketball game, it was a 5-minute standing ovation. Cool. I mean, the whole public has been dying for women's wrestling.
Most of the people in public aren't against it. Like, let the women have as much opportunity as the men, right? It's depending on what we're talking about.
But I would say, in theory, they think that it's already been done.
Right, but it's not.
And when I try to tell them these enormous gaps between boys and girls and then men and women in college, that, they're usually like, what?
All right, Nancy, how about, it's a big topic right now, transgender athletes in women's sports. You guys do deal with some of that as well.
Right. So we have a petition on our website right now that if you think that women's sports should stay for females, that are people who are born a woman, biological females, that then sign our petition because we want transgender athletes to play sports.
Sure,
absolutely. But let them play in the sex class where they belong, as opposed to in the women's category. I think it's actually kind of lazy for sports administrators just to put everybody, including trans women, trans men, women, into the women's category.
I gotta imagine they just don't know what to do at this point yet, right?
Right.
I think it's common sense. It's got to be common sense. Take this swimmer, Leah Thomas, right? I got nothing against her at all.
Leah.
But when she was a boy or a man, she was like 400th in the country. She comes, as a woman, she's number one. That common sense tells me that just doesn't add up. Like whatever the political whatever. I'm just trying to
exactly when it gets into the political realm, common sense leaves.
There are a lot of people who are not in sports. Like we're all in sports,
right?
And who signs our petition? We have 420 Olympians and Paralympians that have signed on to our petition.
Yep.
And people who are in sports, they get it like this, like you don't have to explain anything. But people who are not in sports and they're philosophy majors and they think like, well, human beings are on a spectrum. Like when just like the difference, so I'm as big a woman as there pretty much is. There are not a lot of women who are bigger than I am.
You mean it's tall, like what are you,
tall
6 foot, 6'1" or whatever?
Well, with heels on, 6'1". No, I'm 5'10". I'm like 150.
Okay.
And as opposed to like 5'10", 150 for a guy is
little.
Not exactly.
I mean,
I was
not
like
little, but he's kind of.
Yeah.
Sorry if anybody's 5'10", 150.
Yeah, right.
I don't mean.
Yeah, right.
I didn't mean it like that. Not little, but just not as big as somebody that's bigger, I guess.
Right.
No, you're right. You're right.
So I've been saying this actually for 30 years, that if you want to give women equal opportunities in sports, they have to have their own team.
Yep.
So it's not like, because when you say non-discrimination, when you look at every other place, when they've had non-discrimination, like in the civics department or, then all they did was they just made it so that sex didn't matter going into the chemistry department or English or whatnot. But if you just had one basketball team and just sort of see who makes it, women, that's half the population we're built from a different mold. We're made perfectly.
That's right.
There's nothing inferior or there's nothing wrong with how it is that we're built. But
men are flawed as all get out. We're a mess, though. You guys are beautiful creatures. We appreciate that big time. No, but look, again, just the common sense factor. I think if we could just get back to some common sense, everybody could find a happy place. You can play sports. You can be who you want to be. And
Right. And we want to have locker rooms. We want to. There are some spaces where I feel like that the trans community would be so much more successful in what they're doing if they would agree not to be in women's spaces, if they're not our changing spaces or medical or even women's prisons. Males should not be in women's prisons.
No, right. Absolutely.
So
common sense
all these,
again.
Exactly. Right. If they would agree to respect females, to respect women.
Right. And look, and I'm going to wrap it up with this because a lot of the problem, I think, in every part of our society is the media. They make the 10% look like 90%. Like every police officer's bad. No, they're not. There are some that are, but there's a ton that aren't. They're fantastic people and they're just doing their job. So the media can get everybody a little bit cuckoo, in my opinion. And I remember playing, you probably as athletes, right? The media would write something like, that's not true.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? But that gets everybody talking, stirred up.
So if you want to help us, go on to championwomen.org, all one word.
Awesome. Championwomen.org. You got a plug? How can we plug you, man? You got CannaMation.com or something?
I have CannaMationInc.com.
Inc.com.
He's making plenty of money.
Yeah.
Like, don't you want to donate?
Hey, donate to women's sports, would you, for crying out loud?
We're a startup right now.
Yeah.
We think we're going to make lots of money, but that'll
There
come.
you go.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, guys, so much.
Thank
thanks
you.
for having us.
I love
Thanks for having us.
Hey, all conversations are welcome at this bar, and all opinions matter, and they're all welcome right here. If you like these kind of conversations, you'll see plenty more at iwanttabuzz.com. So until next time, you stay safe and be cool. And we'll see you right here on The Horse's Mouth. Cheers.